Hi, I'm Heath McGowan. I'm one of the anatomy lecturing staff at Bundoora, and I endorse this clipboard product.
This is a short presentation on the pericardium. The lecture objectives are to be able to describe the structure and function of the pericardium. Pericardium. This should be familiar to you, but we have parietal layers of serous membranes which basically they surround a cavity. We have visceral layers which actually touch the organ. So our parietal pericardium, peri meaning around or upon, on, and cardium being cardiac or the heart. So around the heart we have a parietal layer. Now it sits on our fibrous pericardium, and inside, touching more deep, touching the heart, we have a visceral pericardium. We'll have a look at that in a bit more detail. It's a double-walled sac which is around the heart. Superficially, we have a fibrous pericardium. When we think of something that's fibrous, it's made up of fibers. So let's think of a Hessian sac, something like that. It's strong, but it's rough. So it protects the heart because it's so tough. It anchors the heart, so it holds it in place. And because it's so tough, it prevents the heart from overfilling. You can't fill your heart like a water balloon and burst it. However, we don't want really rough layers touching our heart. It'll get inflamed, it'll get painful, and we will die a horribly painful death. So what we want is deeper touching or around the heart. We want these more gentle serous layers. So this is where we get our parietal layer. It lines the fibrous pericardium and protects the heart from that roughness. And deep touching the heart, covering the actual heart muscle, called an epicardium, meaning it's upon the heart. We have that visceral layer, the visceral pericardium. This is a picture from Moore and Daly, textbook you'll be using next year. But if we look at the heart as it sits in the body, it's connected to the diaphragm. That rough, fibrous pericardium sits around the outside. It holds the heart in place. It attaches to the diaphragm, prevents it from overfilling because it's so strong, and it protects it. Deep to that, we had our parietal pericardium and our visceral pericardium, called the epicardium. Now the epicardium, the visceral pericardium, sits on top of this myocardium. Myo just means muscle, so we're talking about the cardiac muscle layer. Deep inside the heart we have an endocardium. Endo just means inside. So sitting on the myocardium we have this visceral pericardium layer. We can see that that's actually continuous with this parietal pericardium layer. Okay. So they're just like a balloon. And in the middle we have a pericardial cavity. And what are we going to find in a cavity? This is a serous membrane. It's going to secrete serous fluids. So in that cavity we're going to find serous fluid, which is going to act as a shock absorber. It's going to be slippery to allow all these, the heart's constantly moving, so it's going to allow movement without generating heat and friction. And this is pretty much the same picture, but this is more like what you'd be presented with in an assignment or a test, because this is from your textbook. Again, we can see the heart with its heart muscle, and we have a visceral pericardium continuous with the parietal pericardium. They secrete serous fluid into this pericardial cavity. all the way around the outside we'd have this fibrous pericardium, which is quite tough. And that's the end of this presentation. Thank you.